So I remember getting my first general manager role to run a building company. And back then, I think we were turning over 5 or 6 million. We had a few staff and a few contractors that were helping us get the work done. And at that stage, because of the size of the company, I was doing multiple roles. I was a general manager, I was a sales and marketing manager, I was the construction manager, and I was the IT manager. Basically, all of the senior management decisions came to me, and the owner, who was working on other businesses, would speak to me and we'd kind of work out some high level plans for the company. But the day-to-day operations were all done by me. And as that company grew, within a couple of years, we were turning over, I think, a little less than 20 million. We'd grown the staff base to about, I think it was over 20 people, 23 people. And I was still wearing those hats. I was still the general manager, the sales and marketing manager, the construction manager, and managing all the IT. And it was pretty full on. It was a lot of hours. And what happened was, over that time, I remember having a chat with the director saying, I think really some of these roles need to go. We need to put on someone to wear that hat and take on the role of sales and marketing manager, or wear that hat and take on the role of construction manager. But because we'd grown the way we did, he didn't quite see the need the same way. But what I really noticed was, in the last sort of 18 months especially, was that things were starting to not get as much attention as what I would have liked. And that was kind of costing us. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like everything was breaking and falling apart, but it certainly wasn't optimal. And I remember at the time we were thinking, how much does a sales and marketing manager cost? What do they want to get paid? And at the time, I didn't understand what a fractional marketing manager was. In fact, I don't think that's very common in the building industry to use a fractional marketing manager, but basically corporates use that term. But it's someone who can do the role of a marketing manager, but isn't full-time. They work basically like a subcontractor, but they take control of your marketing, put in place a plan, audit, see what you're doing, create a roadmap, and then actually manage the campaigns with an external agency or someone who is actually doing the fulfillment of the work. And that would have been a lifesaver for me, because we really needed sales, but I couldn't wear that hat all the time or really give myself to the marketing and understanding what's happening in the digital space and where we need to be and what our messaging was. So I kept relying on these contractors to do it. And you're only as good as the people you hire, and some of these contractors, well, in fact, all of them didn't really understand building. And so it was always this educational process when I would sit down with a new contractor, try to explain what we needed, what we did, and they'd come back to us with some stuff, and it's like, that's not quite right. That's not really what we do. This isn't quite how building works. None of them understood, what it was like working with clients. And that's the next thing, From there, I kind of got to a point where I wanted to change, and I left the GM role and I went out on my own and started my own sales and marketing company to basically design and tender new homes for clients. And I sold to clients for 5 years. I did everything. Built the website, did the Google ads, did the SEO, did the social media, conversion rate optimization, all the geek stuff, because I'm a software engineer as well as a builder. And it was in that time that I really understood the client psychology, and sitting across the dinner table with these people to sign them up on a design agreement, which at the time I was charging $6,500 for, to have a design sketch done and then to go out and get tendered. And then, take them through that whole process, and then ultimately sign them with the builder and the building contract. I learned a lot about what they look for and what conversations they were having and why they chose builders the way they chose them and why they chose me. Like, what was I doing on the website that spoke to them and resonated with them? And it was through that process that a lot of builders that I had connections with and was giving them work on the sales I was doing from getting these sales online. And they said, hey, can you do it for us? And that's why I launched Building Boom. So as Building Boom started, we do all of the normal digital agency stuff that you would expect as a marketing agency. But I think the big advantage is that my agency and my team members all understand new homes better than I think probably any agency. I don't know of any digital marketing agency whose owner has run a building company and done sales with clients for more than 5 years selling homes. And I think that's what makes us different. That's the advantage we give to building companies. And so if you find yourself being in that similar position as me, where it's like, man, I can't give my attention where it needs to be in the marketing side, and you're relying on outsourcing that stuff to an agency who might be good at marketing, they might be a good marketing company, but I can almost guarantee you they don't understand your clients as well as what we do, and their messaging wouldn't be right, and you're probably playing a bit of copycat, copying what some other builders are doing, because the marketing agencies don't really understand what it is your clients want. If that's you and you're in that position and you feel like things are starting to slip through the cracks, and you want to speak to someone about a fractional marketing manager, someone who can do your marketing on a contract basis that costs you far less than trying to employ someone in that position, and you're turning over somewhere between 10 to 40 million in business, and you also maybe want an agency that can just run with it, you don't have to hold their hand, then I think it's time we had a conversation. I'm Steve Fitz, the Managing Director of Building Boom. Give me a call if this resonates with you. I'm more than happy to chat about your marketing and your direction and what your goals are as a builder, and I'm sure we can help.